They say women want a good man, a kind man, a man who listens, shows up, texts back fast, and always makes her feel wanted. But let me ask you something real. If that's true, why does the guy who barely tries end up haunting her mind? Why is it the quiet one? The one who doesn't chase, who never overshares, who looks at her like he's seen it all before. Why is he the one she can't stop thinking about? The truth? Most women aren't addicted to attention. They're addicted to tension. And the man who knows how to withhold his words, his emotions, his presence is the one who makes her feel something no nice guy ever will. In this video, I'll show you exactly why that happens and how to become the man who doesn't need to try hard, because his very presence already does all the work. This isn't about playing games. It's about mastering control. Stoic control. So if you're done being the man who gives too much and gets too little in return, hit subscribe now. Let's talk about why the man who acts like he's nothing becomes everything in her mind. Number 1. Stop proving yourself, let her wonder. You don't need to prove anything. That's the first truth most men never, harlot alone, believe. From the moment we're young, we're taught to win approval. Be nice, be impressive, get her attention, say something clever, make her laugh, show her you're the one. But the man who keeps trying to prove himself is already losing, because every time you try to show her how great you are, you're admitting without saying it that you're not sure. And if you're not sure, why should she be? Here's the thing. Women aren't drawn to the guy who lays all his cards on the table too soon. They're drawn to the man who leaves just enough mystery. The man who doesn't need to explain who he is. He knows. And his silence, his restraint says more than his words ever could. That kind of man doesn't chase. He doesn't convince. He lets the room come to him. And she will. Because when a woman meets a man who's not trying to impress her, it messes with her expectations. She's used to guys bending over backwards for attention. She's used to flattery, validation, compliments. But when she meets a man who seems like he doesn't care whether she likes him or not, she leans in. That's when curiosity kicks in. It's not arrogance. It's calm. It's what the Stoics called self-containment. You don't need outside validation to feel like you're enough. You already are. You don't seek her approval, you observe her energy. You let her reveal herself. And when you're that grounded, it shows. In your eyes, in your tone, in how you move, how you listen, how you speak, without trying to dominate. She'll test it. She'll try to throw you off balance. Maybe with sarcasm, maybe with silence. Maybe she'll act like she's not interested just to see if you flinch. Don't. Let her wonder. Let her think. Does he even like me? Why isn't he trying harder? What's going on in his head? Because the moment she starts asking those questions, you've already created the kind of tension that most guys never will. Nice guys, on the other hand, try too hard. They smile too wide, compliment too much, lean in too far. They perform. And while that might get a polite reaction, it rarely sparks anything deeper. Here's the rule. If she already knows you want her, the game's over before it begins. But when she doesn't know, when there's ambiguity, when you show up like you've got a full life, full confidence, full peace, without needing her to fill a gap, that's when you become the one she thinks about after you're gone. You want to create attraction? Don't try harder. Pull back. Let her feel the absence of effort. Let her feel your calm. Let her see that you're a man who doesn't need to win because you already walk like you've won within. The most attractive energy you can bring isn't excitement. It's stillness. It's the man who speaks less, smiles slowly, moves with clarity. It's the man who holds his own space and makes her wonder what's behind the curtain. And that's not a game. That's power. It's the power that comes when you've mastered your own validation, when you don't need attention to feel alive, when you don't treat women like goals to achieve but like humans to observe, feel, and maybe invite in. Or maybe not. Because here's the kicker. When you no longer need her to pick you, you've already picked yourself. That's the man she can't look away from. If that hits, and you're ready to stop proving and start being, drop this in the comments. I choose calm. Now, stay locked in. What you'll hear next explains why uncertainty, not clarity, is what actually fuels a woman's obsession. Number 2. Her brain craves uncertainty. Use it. You want her to think about you when you're not around? Don't give her certainty, give her tension. Most guys try way too hard to be crystal clear with women. They think clarity equals comfort, and comfort equals connection. But that's not how attraction works. Not for her. See, a woman's desire isn't ignited by knowing exactly where she stands. It's triggered by the not knowing, by the space between what she feels and what she can't quite read in you. Her brain is wired to seek emotional resolution, but the trick is, the more you delay that resolution, the more she obsesses. We're talking about biological programming here. Back when survival depended on securing the best possible mate, a man's mystery wasn't a red flag, it was a signal of value. If he wasn't easily accessible, he must be rare. If he wasn't chasing, he must already have options. Her brain still runs that same ancient software, even in today's world of constant texting and attention. That's why the man who gives her less actually makes her feel more. When you pull back just enough, not cold, not distant, but deliberate, you become the question mark she can't stop thinking about. She replays your words. She rewrites your tone. She tells her friends she can't figure you out, and they all lean in with her. This is called intermittent reinforcement, and it's one of the most powerful psychological hooks known to man. You're not giving her validation every second. You're giving it just enough, and at random intervals. That unpredictability keeps her mind busy and her emotions deeply involved. But let's be clear. This isn't about manipulation. This is about value projection. You're not here to entertain. You're not here to chase. You're here because your time is real. Your presence means something. And when you show up, it matters because you don't flood her with energy all day long. She has to earn it. That's the key difference. Most guys are trying to prove they're enough. A stoic man lets her prove that she is. So what does this look like in practice? You don't always reply right away. You don't always say exactly what you're thinking. You give her presence, but you don't explain yourself. When she makes a flirty comment, you smirk and change the subject. When she asks where you see this going, you say, "Let's just see how it unfolds." You're not being evasive. You're being present without attachment. You're not a puzzle she can solve in one night. And that's what she craves. Because when a woman feels uncertain, she starts to invest. She starts to initiate. She starts to fantasize about what it would mean to finally have you. The second she feels like she already does, that's when the excitement dies. The Stoics knew this. They didn't beg for validation. They stayed calm, grounded, self-contained. That energy radiates. It says, "I am complete, with or without you. And because I don't need you, your interest becomes something I observe, not something I chase." Here's the bottom line. If you're too predictable, you become forgettable. But if you can hold tension, if you can stay mysterious without being cold, you become unforgettable. You don't need to be cold. You don't need to be cruel. But you do need to understand, her emotional world thrives on the unknown. If you're always available, always praising, always giving, she stops valuing it. Let her guess sometimes. Let her feel the contrast between having your attention and missing it. That contrast is what keeps her locked in. If you're ready to stop over-explaining and start letting tension do the work, drop this in the comments. I use tension. And stay with me. The next shift doesn't require any words at all, but it'll change the entire way you're seen when you enter a room. Number 3. Act like you've been there before. There's something quietly magnetic about a man who doesn't flinch. He walks into the room, scans the scene, and moves like it's nothing new. He doesn't light it up with energy. He doesn't force attention. He doesn't even want it. But he gets it because of how he carries himself. This is what it looks like to act like you've been there before. See, most guys, when they're around a beautiful woman, change. They tense up, talk too much, try too hard, act like they've entered sacred ground. Everything becomes about impressing her. They lean forward, their energy rises, their sense of self shrinks. That's when the dynamic flips. She's no longer responding to your energy. She's evaluating it. But when you act like you've seen it all before, like beauty doesn't shock you, like attention doesn't inflate your ego, like you've already stood next to amazing women and didn't fall apart, you show her something she doesn't see often: emotional authority. You become the calm in the room. And trust me, she feels it. Because when she's used to being the center of attention, and suddenly she's not, when you're not falling over yourself to compliment her, when you hold her gaze but don't chase her approval, that changes everything. Now you're not just another guy trying to impress her. You're the man she can't read. And the moment she can't read you, she starts leaning in. This is deeper than just being cool. This is about operating from abundance. A man who acts like he's been there before isn't pretending. He actually has. Or at least, he's become so internally grounded that he no longer treats every attractive woman like a once-in-a-lifetime event. He knows who he is. He knows what he brings. He knows he doesn't have to audition. That's stoic energy, not passive, not cold, just composed, present, powerful. And when you show up like that, women don't feel like they're being hunted. They feel like they've just discovered something real, something different, something they don't have control over yet. And that's what makes it addictive. Think about it like this. You walk into a space, you take your time, you don't over-smile, you don't laugh just to fill silence, you don't look around nervously to see who's watching you. You sit down like you've been in this seat 100 times before. Even if your heart's beating a little faster than the outside, you stay slow. You order with calm. You speak with pause. You make eye contact with ease, not force. And if she comes over, you treat her like a person, not a prize. Like someone you're curious about, not someone you need. That subtle difference changes everything. Because now, instead of you proving something to her, she starts proving something to you. She starts trying to get your attention. She starts questioning why she doesn't have your full focus yet. And that's exactly where you want to be. The Stoics had a word for this kind of presence: ataraxion, unshakable calm. It doesn't mean you don't feel. It means your feelings don't run the show. You own them. You direct them. You bring them to the surface when you decide to, not because someone triggered them. That's the real power. That's what makes a woman feel like she's around someone who's not just confident, but in full control of himself. So the next time you feel the pressure to perform, don't just breathe. Slow down. Relax your face. Speak when you mean it, not when the silence gets uncomfortable. Let her experience your presence before she hears your words. That kind of presence, it's unforgettable. And if this is the energy you want to lead with, say it in the comments. I move calm. Stick around, because the next insight will show you why giving less of yourself often makes her feel more. Number 4, give less and she'll feel more. You've been told that love means giving everything. That connection comes from full transparency, that the more you give, the more she'll feel. But that's only half the story. The truth is, when you give too much too soon, you don't build connection, you flood it. Most guys try to build attraction by overwhelming her with energy. Constant texts, long, vulnerable confessions, back-to-back compliments, full attention, 24/7. It's well-intentioned, but it backfires. Not because you're being kind, but because you're not leaving space. Space is where feelings form. Space is where curiosity grows. Space is what makes her feel the pull. The man who gives less intentionally, calmly, confidently creates a vacuum. a magnetic pull that makes her want to close the distance. And when that desire comes from her, it's 10 times stronger. This is why emotional restraint matters more than emotional intensity. We're not saying be cold. You don't go distant. You go minimal. You go intentional. You speak with weight, not volume. You look her in the eyes, but you don't spill your whole story in one sitting. You don't give her constant access to your thoughts, your time, your energy. That scarcity makes your presence more powerful. Think about your favorite song, the one that gives you chills. Now imagine playing it on loop for 5 hours straight. What happens? You tune it out. It becomes noise. You still love it, but it no longer moves you. The same thing happens in relationships. If she never misses you, she can't desire you. So how do you give less in a way that deepens her experience? Start by being intentional with your availability. Not fake scarcity, real self-prioritization. You're not always on your phone. You don't reply instantly unless it makes sense. You don't jump to hang out every time she calls. You value your time and she starts to value it too. Next, give fewer words. Not because you're cold, but because you're measured. You don't overshare on the first date. You let your stories unfold slowly, like chapters. You make her curious. You don't flood her with flattery. One compliment, when it's earned, hits harder than 5 in a row. You also give fewer reactions. She tests you. You smile. She tries to get a rise out of you. You stay calm. You don't reward every little thing with attention. Your emotional energy is earned, not handed out. This is what creates the Stoic edge. Stoicism isn't about indifference. It's about discipline. It's about understanding that your attention, your words, your presence, they're valuable. You don't give them to prove anything. You give them when they matter. And that's what makes her feel. When she knows you're not like other guys who overshare, overcommit, and overexpose their emotions, she feels the difference. She feels the weight of every glance, every word, every moment with you, because they're not on demand. They're rare, and rarity creates meaning. In a world where most people are constantly available, the man who's slightly hard to reach becomes unforgettable. He becomes the one she replays in her head, the one she tells her friends about, the one she wonders, what's going on in his world? Why isn't he chasing like the rest? That's not a tactic. That's emotional mastery. It's understanding that desire thrives in tension, not saturation. You want her to feel more, give her less, but make what you give count. One powerful look is better than a dozen hollow compliments. One silent pause can say more than a monologue. One thoughtful message can echo longer than a string of emojis. So, if you're ready to stop overwhelming and start commanding emotion with less, drop this in the comments. I move with precision. And don't click away just yet, because in the next part, we're going to talk about what happens when you stop asking for her interest and assume it instead. Number 5. Let her chase your calm. When a man walks into a room carrying calm energy, people notice. But when a man sits across from a woman unshaken, unrushed, unbothered, she notices on a deeper level. Why? Because calmness is rare, especially the kind that doesn't come from faking it, but from real inner stillness. Most guys bring noise. They talk too much. They try too hard. They react fast. They chase. And every bit of that behavior screams, my center is outside of me. That energy doesn't attract, it overwhelms. It says, validate me so I can feel okay. But calm? Calm says the opposite. It says, I'm already okay. And women chase that kind of energy because it makes them feel safe, intrigued, and oddly challenged all at once. Your calm presence is not just silence. It's a message. It says, you can bring your beauty, your energy, your tests, but you won't shake me. I'm still. I'm grounded. I'm not dancing to your rhythm. I have my own. That kind of steadiness is magnetic. You become the man who's different from what she's used to. You're not there to impress. You're not competing with other guys. You're just there. fully, quietly, powerfully. And here's the truth no one tells you. Women are exhausted by men who try too hard. They might entertain it. They might enjoy the attention. But deep down, they want the man whose value doesn't rise and fall with her reaction. They want the man who's still. Now let's be real. Staying calm isn't always easy. It takes practice. You'll feel the urge to fill the silence, to compliment too soon, to ask for validation. But when you resist that urge, you flip the power dynamic. Suddenly, she's the one filling the space. She's the one thinking, why isn't he reacting? She's the one wondering, what is he thinking? She's the one leaning in. Because now you've made her curious, not just comfortable. And curiosity builds emotional tension. This is what the Stoics understood so well. They didn't chase chaos. They embraced stillness. They didn't let emotions take the lead. They observed them, controlled them. They knew that true strength doesn't yell, it holds. So how do you bring this calm into your own interactions? Start by slowing down. When you speak, pause. When you listen, really listen. Don't just wait for your turn to talk. Let silence hang for a beat longer than you're used to. Don't rush to fill it. Let her feel it. Next, breathe from your core. Literally. Keep your voice low and steady. Keep your face relaxed. Move like you've got time, because a man who moves like he has nowhere better to be gives off the vibe of someone who's in control. When things get emotional, don't mirror her intensity. Stay grounded. When she tests you, stay cool. When she gets loud, you get still. You're not being passive, you're being immovable. And that imbalance, that contrast, it draws her in, because here's what she learns without you saying a word. You are not easily moved, and that makes her want to move toward you. It makes her want to understand what's behind the quiet, what's behind the ease, what's behind the peace you carry like armor. Let her chase that. Let her try to crack your calm knot because you're hiding, but because your energy is earned, built, protected. You are not a man who spills himself in the first conversation. You are not a man who explodes just because someone pushes a button. You are a man who responds, not reacts. A man whose peace is not for sale. And that more than looks, money, or clever lines is what keeps her coming back. So if this is the kind of presence you're committed to living with, say it in the comments. I protect my peace. And don't go anywhere, because in the next shift, we're not chasing energy. We're commanding it without saying a word. Number 6, pass her tests without reacting. Here's the truth no one wants to admit. She's going to test you, not because she's mean or manipulative or insecure, but because it's how she feels you. It's how she knows what kind of man she's really dealing with. A test isn't just a trick, it's a signal. It says, can I trust his strength? Not just physical strength, but emotional strength, mental clarity, self-possession. And what most men do, they fail instantly. They get defensive. They over-explain. They lash out. They collapse. They trade presence for panic. They treat every playful challenge like a personal attack. That's when she sees it. He's unstable. He doesn't lead. He reacts. But when you pass her tests without reacting, without breaking your frame, without getting pulled into drama, that's when her respect grows. That's when she feels, okay, this guy's built different. Let's be clear here. Tests come in many forms. It could be a sharp joke, a delayed text response, a question meant to poke your ego, even a flirt with another guy just to see how you hold your ground. You don't win these moments by playing defense. You win them by not flinching. You don't get loud. You don't get cold. You don't shrink or overcompensate. You breathe. You hold eye contact. You stay in your center. Think of it like this. She's not trying to destroy your masculinity. She's checking it. She wants to know, is this man really solid, or does he just talk like it? That's where Stoicism gives you the edge. Because Stoicism teaches one thing above all. You don't control events, You only control your response. When someone pushes you emotionally, you don't hand over your power. You pause, you observe, you respond like a man who's already won, not a boy trying to prove something. Let me give you an example. She says, "Wow, you're really confident. How many women have you used that line on?" A reactive guy scrambles, No, it's not like that. But you smile. You say, "Only the ones worth talking to." You stay grounded. You flip it with calm, not force. That's how you pass a test without even calling it out. Or maybe she throws some heat. You probably just want attention. A lesser man defends, "That's not true. I'm not like that." You shrug lightly. Attention's easy to get. I'm here for connection. Simple, clean, no defensiveness. You stay calm. You stay above the game. You don't fall for the bait. Because the moment you get emotional, the test wins. Not because she wins, but because she loses interest in a man who loses himself. And make no mistake, these moments are critical. She's not always aware she's testing you. A lot of it's subconscious. It's in her wiring. She's not looking for perfection, she's looking for integrity, for consistency, for groundedness. And groundedness doesn't flinch. It doesn't chase. It doesn't react. It doesn't throw energy around just because someone else can't handle silence. A grounded man makes her feel something far more valuable than excitement. Security. The security of being around a man who leads himself. That's why your ability to stay calm in the face of chaos is sexy. Because she knows deep down that life is full of storms, and if you can't hold your center when she tests you, how will you handle real conflict, real stress, real uncertainty? Passing her tests is not about dominating her. It's about owning yourself. And that ownership is the difference between a forgettable fling and the kind of presence she can't stop thinking about. So remember this. When she tests you, don't analyze. Don't overtalk. Don't defend. Let your energy do the talking. Stay light, stay calm, stay unmoved. And if that's the kind of man you're working to become, drop this in the comments. I hold my frame. Stick with me, because in the next part, we'll shift from response to influence, and you'll see how just being in the room can draw her in more than any pickup line ever could. Number 7. Keep her guessing your intent. If there's one emotion that keeps a woman mentally locked on you, it's curiosity. Not comfort, not clarity, curiosity. And nothing sparks it more than uncertainty about your intent. Does he like me? Is he into me, or just playing cool? Why do I feel so drawn to him when he's not even trying? That inner dialogue, that's where the addiction starts. See, most men ruin the spark by being too clear too early. They lay their intentions bare. I really like you. I think you're beautiful. I want to see where this goes. It sounds honest, and there's nothing wrong with honesty. But when it's given too soon, too easily, it kills the mystery. You've removed the emotional work. She doesn't get to wonder. She doesn't get to think about you after you've gone. She doesn't replay moments and try to decode your vibe. She already knows because you told her everything. That may sound romantic, but it's emotionally flat. There's no suspense, no game to play, no puzzle to solve. But when a man keeps his cards close, not out of manipulation, but out of self-respect that creates tension, he becomes the one she wants to figure out. Now, let's be clear. This isn't about being vague just for the sake of being mysterious. It's about living from a place where you don't need her to know your every thought. Your validation doesn't come from being understood. It comes from being grounded. You're not trying to make her insecure. You're letting her lean in. You give her presence, but not full access. You flirt, but you don't confess. You listen deeply, but you don't rush to label what's happening between you. That undefined space, that's where the magic happens. Here's what women won't say out loud, but will feel instantly. When you keep her guessing your intent, she starts investing emotionally. She puts in effort. She initiates. she tries to impress you. Why? Because uncertainty drives action. Psychologists call it the reward anticipation loop. When a person doesn't know exactly when or how they'll be rewarded when the outcome is possible but not guaranteed, they become obsessed. They keep coming back. Their brain keeps refreshing the tab, waiting for the next signal. That's what your silence does. That's what your calm glances do. That's what your confidence not chased, just owned does. And in that emotional space, you become unforgettable. Think of it like this. You're having a great conversation. The vibe is warm. She's laughing. She's close. Then she says, "So, what are you looking for?" Most guys get nervous. They blurt out something generic. Or worse, they overvalidate. "Well, I'm really looking for someone just like you." You smile and say, "I'm seeing what life brings. What about you?" Then you lean back. Let her reveal. Let her wonder. Because when you're not trying to lock her down, she feels free and strangely hooked. Or let's say she leans in and asks, "Do you always flirt like this?" You could say, "Only when I'm actually interested." Or better yet, "I'm just enjoying this moment. Are you?" Now she's guessing. Now she's feeling. Now she's invested. The Stoics didn't walk around explaining their every emotion. They let presence speak louder than performance. They were known for emotional restraint, but more than that, for letting the moment unfold without gripping it too tightly. That's what you're doing here. You're not withholding. You're just not rushing. You're not making declarations. You're making her feel something more powerful than words. Mystery. And mystery, when paired with calm confidence, makes her curious in a way no compliment ever could. So if you want her to think about you when you're gone, don't give her a full map. Let her wander through the unknown a little. Because when she can't quite label you, she doesn't forget you. If that's the energy you're aiming to master, say it in the comments. I create mystery. And stay close, because in the next part, we're stepping into pure masculine influence. No touch, no words, just presence. And it speaks louder than you think. Number 8. Be emotionally expensive. We live in a world where emotional availability is thrown around like candy. Quick connections, constant access, instant replies, endless validation. And in that noise, the man who becomes emotionally expensive, selective, measured, becomes a different breed altogether. Think about it like this. Women don't chase cheap emotion. They feel it, maybe even enjoy it in the moment, but they forget it the next day. What they chase, what lingers, emotional energy that's earned, not given freely. Being emotionally expensive means your time, your focus, your feelings, they have weight. They don't show up on demand. They're not free samples. They're meaningful, intentional, and rare. Now don't confuse this with being cold or withholding. That's not what we're talking about. Stoicism isn't emotional suppression, it's emotional self-control. You feel, but you're not controlled by it. You care, but you don't bleed it out for everyone. The man who's emotionally expensive doesn't broadcast every thought. He doesn't chase emotional comfort in every interaction. He's okay with being misunderstood for a moment if it means staying true to his own center. That's what draws her in. Because here's what happens when a woman senses your emotions are valuable. She works harder for them. She leans in more. She values your praise. She listens closely when you finally speak. Because she knows it doesn't happen often. And that scarcity creates meaning. Imagine this. You're on a date. She tells a story. Most guys would jump in, validate, compliment, show enthusiasm. You listen, you nod, you hold eye contact. And when the story finishes, instead of rushing to praise, you say something simple like, "That's interesting. What made you want to do that?" Boom. She pauses. Why? Because you didn't flood her with emotional response. You made her earn your attention. And now she's hooked not just on your presence, but on the feeling that your approval isn't automatic. That's emotional expense in action. Or maybe you've been texting for a few days. Things are going well. She starts sending flirty messages, hinting for validation. Most guys jump right into the flirt. You keep it light, playful, measured. You don't jump to say, "You're so sexy." You say, "You seem fun when you're in the mood." That subtle shift keeps you in control, and it teaches her your energy is earned, not begged for. This is the edge Stoic men carry. They don't compete emotionally. They don't beg to be seen. They choose when to reveal. They decide when to lean in. And because of that, they feel powerful. They don't say much, but when they do, it lands. They don't give affection constantly, but when they do, it feels real. They don't show vulnerability immediately, but when it shows, it hits deep. The point is not to play games. It's to protect your energy, because when your emotions become too accessible, they lose their gravity. So how do you become emotionally expensive? You start by becoming emotionally aware. Notice what you feel, without needing to express it right away. Let it settle. Let it build. Share it when it matters not, when the silence feels uncomfortable. You also protect your attention. Don't chase every notification. Don't offer full emotional intimacy to someone who hasn't earned your trust. Let connection unfold, not explode. You practice saying less and meaning more. You don't need to give your story to be seen. Your energy already says enough, and that's the key. Your energy is the currency. If you give it too freely, it loses value. If you offer it intentionally, it becomes irresistible. So if you're ready to be the man who doesn't come cheap, write this in the comments. I raise my value. Don't scroll yet, because in the next shift, we'll tap into the one thing that makes your silence more seductive than any compliment ever could. Number 9. Control the frame or lose it all. There's one silent power that separates the forgettable from the magnetic. It's not looks, it's not status, it's not even charm. It's the frame, the unspoken rules of the interaction. And here's the truth. Whoever controls the frame, controls the meaning. Whoever sets the frame, sets the tone. Whoever loses the frame, loses everything. Most guys don't even know it's happening. They walk into an interaction already inside her frame. They respond to her mood. They try to impress. They wait for cues. They react, adjust, explain. And slowly, without realizing it, they surrender the lead. But the man who holds the frame, he doesn't chase energy, he creates it. He sets the pace. He defines the vibe. He decides what's acceptable and what's not, without saying a word. Let's break this down. What does it mean to control the frame? It means you're not just playing along, you're creating the emotional structure the interaction lives inside. If you're calm, she feels calm. If you're playful, she follows that tone. If you don't flinch when she tests you, the conversation stays grounded. She orbits your gravity, not the other way around. But if you break frame, if you start reacting to every look, every tone, every little comment, now she is leading. Now you're the one proving, chasing, adjusting. And the moment she senses that shift, the attraction starts to fade. Let me give you a real-world example. She's running late. She shows up, no apology. She drops a teasing line. "Well, at least I made it." You weren't waiting too long, were you? The guy who loses frame says, No, it's okay. I was just chilling." The man who holds frame, he gives a light smile, pauses, says, "Fashionably late, huh? I like confidence, as long as it comes with good conversation." Boom. He's still warm, still composed, but he just reset the tone. He didn't punish her boo, he didn't bend either. Frame control isn't about power games. It's about presence. You don't dominate. You guide. You don't control her, you control yourself. And that self-control creates structure, which creates safety, which creates attraction. Stoicism gives you this edge, because a Stoic doesn't chase external approval. He defines his own terms, his own standards, his own values. And because of that, he's not shaken when someone challenges him. You want her to lean into your world. Then build one strong enough to invite her in. Don't try to earn your place in her frame. Build your sand. Let her earn her place in it. And if you're building that kind of inner frame now, drop it in the comments. I hold the frame. Stay with me because in the final part, everything shifts. We're going quiet, but it's the kind of silence that changes the game. Number 10. Become her obsession by acting like you're optional. Nothing pulls a woman deeper into fascination than a man who doesn't need her. Not in a bitter, detached, or arrogant way, but in a calm, grounded, fully lived kind of way. When you show up as a man who could take it or leave it, who chooses to be there, but doesn't need to be, something inside her lights up. Because she senses the difference between a man who's available and a man who's rare. Acting like you're optional doesn't mean playing hard to get. It means you've built a life that already gets you. A mission, a pace, a sense of self-worth that doesn't pause just because she's in the room. You're not here to be chosen, you've already chosen yourself. And this subtle, quiet energy, it changes the entire dynamic. Suddenly, she's wondering if she's good enough. She's chasing confirmation. She's trying to crack what makes you so centered, so content, so out of reach, even when you're close. It's a paradox when you don't make her the center of your world. You become the center of hers. Here's what that looks like. You don't rush to reply. Not because you're playing games, but because you're genuinely doing your thing. You don't rearrange your whole life just to fit her in. You make space, but you don't collapse your structure. And when you speak, there's no pressure, no emotional neediness, just calm, masculine presence. She can feel that freedom, and at first, it might even confuse her. But over time, it becomes addictive, because every other man tried to hold on. You let go and she's the one holding tighter. The Stoics taught this well. They believed happiness came from self-sufficiency, not external approval. They didn't cling, they didn't beg, they walked forward with purpose. And if someone walked with them, great. If not, they kept walking. That's how you become her obsession. Not by filling her inbox. Not by proving you're the best man she's ever met. But by being the man who doesn't need to be anyone but himself. Because when you're not afraid to walk away, people stop letting you go. And she will feel that every time you look her in the eye and smile, like she's lucky you showed up. If you've made it this far, you're not just watching, you're evolving. You're not chasing tips to impress women. You're becoming a man who doesn't need to. A man who moves with calm, who leads with silence, who attracts without effort, because effort isn't needed when your energy already says everything. That's the Stoic path. And if it's the path you're walking, you don't have to walk it alone. So here's what to do next. Hit subscribe, not just to follow a channel, but to follow your edge. Join the brotherhood. Become a member of our Stoic circle where we dive deeper, go sharper, and level up together. No fluff, no hype. Just men becoming dangerous in the best way possible. Thanks for being here. I'll see you tomorrow.